I was hoping that I was going to continue to model. That would be a wonderful life. Now I do not have the type of life that I was hoping for.
I don't like to look at myself and see who I am now compared to who I was.
I have a brain injury for the rest of my life. That never goes away. Bones heal, brain injuries don't.
People think because I talk so slow that in my mind I'm dumb.
It's affected everything about me, and my memory is one of the things that really frustrates me.
In that split second that I lost control of the car, my life was completely different.
Kevin Gowdy, Jennifer McCormick, Danielle Wohl, Josh Rossman, Andy Fitch, and David Wright all have something in common. They were each enjoying life, just like any normal teenager, until separate car crashes changed everything forever. Just like all of us, they never imagined brain injury could happen to them until it did in one split second. Distracted driving is the #1 cause of car crashes in America today. Crashes that kill over 42,000 people a year.
Driver distraction from text messages. That's what police say may have contributed to the crash that killed 5 teenage girls.
Words can't even describe right now. I'm like, these girls were like a huge part of our lives, and I can't believe they're gone.
The tragic loss of 5 young lives impacts an entire community. But some will tell you death is not always the worst thing that can happen to you in a crash. Brain injury is the leading cause of death or permanent disability for young people between the ages of 15 and 24. In other words, if you survive the crash, you face a lifetime of physical and mental struggle.
It took me over 3.5 hours just to get me out of the vehicle. I died twice at the scene. My boyfriend was killed. He was driving the truck we were in. And a 17-year-old girl was killed as well. She was driving a Jeep Cherokee that came over the guardrail from the westbound side of the pike.
Jennifer McCormick was critically and permanently brain injured when a speeding, unbuckled, and distracted driver, who also died after being ejected, caused a terrible chain reaction crash on the Mass Turnpike on a rainy August night.
I have to live with the fact that someone that I loved more than anything in the world died right next to me. And I also have to live with the fact that my parents and my family and my friends had to see me in the shape that I was in. Now when they deal with me, I'm a lot different than I was before. I'm not the same Jen.
Jen was a happy and healthy high school graduate, 2 weeks away from beginning college at UMass at the time of the crash. Life was going great, but now her world will never be the same again.
Everything is a lot more difficult for me. It takes me longer to do things. Like, I can't go to school and take a full course load on because my memory is impaired due to the injuries to my head, and it's a lot more difficult for me now to take in a lot of information and remember it when, it comes time to use it.
4 days a week, Jen travels to community rehab care in Newton, where today she and Andy Fitch, another victim of distracted driving and brain injury, are working with a counselor on things that are now difficult because of the brain injuries. Things like organizing their day, paying bills, social situations, and making good decisions.
I put myself in dangerous situations and endanger myself as well as my friends or whoever I'm with at the time.
I was out with a friend of mine one night, and he went to go and do something that was against the law, and I went with him.
If you know that you have these issues with social judgment, then you want to make sure that you're in control of yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Andy's brain injury is the result of a crash on Christmas Day, 1999, when he was riding with friends on the way to a party.
We were coming to a fork in the road, and he was going one way, and at the last minute I was like, no, it's that way. And he tried to make it, and he didn't make it, and we hit a tree, and right there I got ejected out of the car because I wasn't wearing my seatbelt, and he was trapped in the car, and the car cracked his skull. We both got a pretty significant brain injury.
Brain injury affects the way you think. Childhood memories can be erased. Short-term memory is more often affected. You can become paralyzed and have to spend the rest of your life in a wheelchair. Some people lose the sense of taste and smell. Because the brain has been traumatized, you may suffer constant headaches or seizures. Andy has trouble walking and writing.
I was enjoying my life, and now that I have this accident, I have a lot of deficiencies and a lot of things wrong with me.
You may be unable to think quickly and clearly, so that it's difficult to make good choices. People perceive you differently, and your perception is skewed. Your own self-image is altered because you can't keep up with your friends anymore, and everyday life is a struggle.
I've been 17 for 8 years now, and I've just remembered my life from before the accident when I was 17. So I, of course, just try to remember life as it was before the accident and try and pretend things are all okay then, but it's never that way.
If you survive a crash, you may go into a coma for days, weeks, months, or even longer. Many people who receive brain injuries do. The traumatized brain shuts down, and doctors have to put you on full life support to keep you alive. That means a catheter for urine, chest tubes, nasal tubes, a shunt in the head to drain fluid and relieve pressure, diapers, a respirator for breathing, and IV lines to deliver medication and hydration. And when you finally do come out of the coma, you may have to learn to do everything all over again, like chew, swallow, talk, and walk.
The only thing I thought in the hospital was, all right, I just don't know how to walk again. And so I tried to make that happen. And then I learned how to swallow liquids again. So like, all right, I gotta make that happen. And talking, wow, talking was so incredibly difficult for me for quite a few years afterwards.
David was permanently brain injured when he crashed his friend's car into a tree at 70 miles an hour after a night of drinking. His friend Derek was killed, and David now has to live with his mistake and his brain injury for the rest of his life.
It's with me every day, from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, every single day. So please, I tell people, please take care of yourselves. I mean, you do not ever want to go through this, ever.
Why is it so important for you as a new driver to know about brain injury and to understand how your brain works? Because as we said, brain injury is the leading cause of death and disability for 15 to 24-year-olds. And car crashes are the leading cause of brain injury for people in this age group. The rest are caused by sports injuries, violence, and falls. In the time it takes you to watch this program, over 75 people will have sustained a brain injury. And brain injuries are permanent. That's why prevention is so critical. While a doctor can fix a broken arm or leg or stitch up a cut, there are no cures for brain injury. There's no magic pill.
The driver of my car bent over on the passenger side feet to retrieve a CD, and in doing so, he hit the median strip.
The inexperienced driver panicked and overreacted, flipping the vehicle. 3 of the 6 kids were lucky. 3 were not. The lucky ones walked away without any serious physical injury, but 1 girl and 2 boys were thrown from the vehicle because they weren't wearing seatbelts. The girl died, and the boys were severely brain injured, including Josh Rossman, who was 15 at the time.
At 15, Josh had the world by the tail. He was a handsome young man who had females out there pursuing him and was athletic and very involved in sports, and all that was taken away.
Josh is a funny and fun-loving young man who, for the past 14 years, has been trapped in the prison that is brain injury.
I think his biggest loss is the feeling that he'd love to have a girlfriend, and that's the hardest thing to try and attract into his life. But his whole world of sports, now he just watches them instead of participating, and it was all taken away.
Can we now give
See if you can have any takers, anyone willing to be my girlfriend.
Sometimes when I stop to think about it, it hurts a bit. Due to, it's not the way I wanted things to be, as I've mentioned it many times.
Danielle was a beautiful teenage model with big dreams when a drunk driver hit the car she was riding in. She wasn't wearing a seatbelt and was thrown from the car, suffering a serious brain injury that cost her all of those big dreams.
How wonderful it might have been for me if I was a model again, if I could do that. And such wonderful work it would be. And how many friends I would have. And all the fun. And that maybe, who knows, I could have kids right now.
Danielle is legally blind and needs to take 22 different medications each day. She can't remember things from a few hours before, and she needs someone with her 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and she always will.
And once something such as this happens to you, there's no going back. You can't erase time. And it will hurt for the rest of your natural life.
Getting a driver's license is one of the really big events in your life. It means freedom, but one mistake can alter your life forever. You probably don't even realize how much your eyes are focused somewhere other than the road when you're fiddling with the radio, answering cell phone calls or text messaging, eating, or goofing around with friends in the car. These are just a few of the things that lead to trouble, especially for new drivers.
We can do things that have nothing to do with driving because after we get a little bit of experience, we feel as though we're safe in the machine, as though the machine itself is going to guarantee our safety, and that's not true.
Here at the Central Massachusetts Safety Council, Jerry Bowman teaches cops high-speed pursuit tactics and shows truckers how to avoid the hazards of their job. But maybe the most important thing he does here is to teach young drivers how a car can turn into a killing machine with one bad decision.
Let's go ahead and get the job done. Here we go. Get your speed up a little bit. Nice and smooth on your steering now. Drive the machine. There you go. Yeah. Beautiful. Keep driving. Beautiful. Whoop. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Oh, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Hey.
Am I calling at the right time now?
Oh, yeah, you did fine. Keep talking to him. Make him say something. Answer him.
What time is it?
My God! Save me! Save me! Oh, my God. What's happening is when you're picking up the cell phone, you're answering it, you're not steering the car. You see? And you didn't slow your speed down. So all those things were not happening. That's what happens to people out there. Your responsibility as a driver on the road is to understand this is a killing machine. This is a Terminator. It's going to hurt you, it's going to hurt the people that you love, and once it's done and over, you can't bring them back. You only have one opportunity, and that opportunity is to begin to respect each and every other vehicle that's out there. Never be dead right, and never try to prove a point behind the wheel. Don't allow yourself to become involved with road rage or a belief that your skills outmatch what physics can do to you when you make a mistake. And so the issue really is about you understanding your limitation. Now you got to count loud enough so I can hear you.
After driving through the obstacle course a couple of times with little or no distractions,
Let's go.
AJ now must make only a hard right cut, but with the radio blaring and the cell phone to his ear as he counts backwards from 100 in units of 5.
Keep counting. Where's my numbers? AJ, what happened to my numbers? Stop. There you go. What happened to your head?
I couldn't concentrate.
This is distracted driving in a controlled
That's
environment.
exactly what happens to a lot of the teenagers in these cars, AJ.
Well, I learned that it doesn't take much to distract you. I mean, we had the radio go on the cell phone, and as soon as that cell phone went off, I didn't have a clue what to do.
By definition, an accident is an event or an experience which is unanticipated, unexpected. How can we say that something that happens every 5 seconds is unanticipated? How can we say when 3.6 million of us are injured that we couldn't anticipate this?
My name is Kevin Robert Gowdy, and I was in a car accident, a fatal car accident that killed my best friend, and I suffered a head injury from it. I suffer from short-term memory loss, and I have to I'm kind of forgetful at times. I broke both my legs. I got the scar on my head. I broke my nose. I had some injured ribs, and it took me a while. I was in a wheelchair for a little bit of my life, and I was in a walker and a cane. I went to prison for a year and a half. They charged me with negligent homicide. I drank too much the night before. I woke up. I didn't have anything to eat. I had a few beers. My friend that died, his name's Alex. We went out fishing together, and we had a few beers, and we went to go back home. Well, I thought that I was fine after I had 3 or 4 beers, because I was like, you know, it's just 3 or 4 beers. I was 20 years old. I kind of felt invincible, like most teenagers do these days. They feel invincible, that, you know, it's not going to happen to me. You have consequences to your actions. And I guarantee you, if, you know, you call your parents and ask them, everybody's drunk here, can you pick me up? Sure, they'll be mad. You get grounded. But the other consequence is you drive in the car, you crash, you kill someone or yourself, and you have consequences for your whole life. I'd rather have 1 week of being grounded than 1 year and a half in prison. In that split second that I lost control of the car, my life was completely different. My family, they had to take care of me, and I couldn't obviously drive, so they had to drive me everywhere. They hurt all the time. My friends hurt all the time. I mean, sure, this happened to me, but it happened to everybody that I'm connected to. It affected Alex's family 10 times worse than that it affected anybody else. In that split second, everybody's lives are changed completely. And, yeah, wish I could go back and change that split second.
It's a fact that over 50% of all brain injuries are drug or alcohol related. That means that many of these injuries are preventable. You do have a choice. You can reduce the risk of causing a brain injury to yourself or to someone else. The first place drugs and alcohol affect is the frontal lobe of our brains. The frontal lobe is in charge of so many important functions: attention, judgment, emotions, problem solving. Inhibitions are altered. Have you ever seen someone do something they normally wouldn't, except that they're under the influence of drugs or alcohol? Impaired judgment, believing we're capable of driving, that it's only this one time. Driving skills deteriorate, specifically concentration, perception, reflexes, reaction time, and coordination. There are actually 3 collisions in a car crash that result in brain injury. The car hits something, and the force causes you to hit something, the windshield, dashboard, or steering wheel. And the third collision is your brain being thrown back and forth inside your skull. In this clip, a camera installed to catch thieves who robbed New York cabbies instead caught an unbelted driver fall asleep at the wheel. Startled awake, he oversteers and causes the car to roll over. Unbuckled, he's thrown all over the car. Luckily, there are no passengers, but the driver's head went through the rear window and he ended up with a brain injury. In a crash, the weight of your body is multiplied by the speed of the vehicle. That means that an unbuckled 200-pound person in a car traveling 80 miles an hour will hit the dashboard, the windshield, or a friend with a force of 16,000 pounds, the weight of an elephant. That's the force that can propel you through metal or glass. It doesn't have to be a high-speed crash to cause brain injury. 13-year-old Matthew Young was in the back seat of his parents' car that was stopped for a school bus full of children crossing the street. The speed limit here is 30 miles an hour. A 17-year-old, driving the speed limit, was paying more attention to her radio than the road in front of her, and that proved tragic for the 7th grader and his family.
She said she just looked down to to fiddle around with her tape deck, and she got distracted. When she looked up, she was right in front of our car. Just the way that her car literally slammed into my trunk, almost fit right into the trunk, got all the way to the back seat, jerked my son forward in a wild manner and back. We looked down, my son's eyes were totally glassy, didn't move.
Matthew never came out of the coma. He died 2 days later, leaving a devastated family and community behind.
In 1 second, my life changed forever. My family's life changed forever, and my son's not here anymore. In 1 split second. There is no place for me to go see him, except at the cemetery, to sit and look at a headstone with his name on it.
Not a single day goes by in this emergency department where we don't see someone who's been somehow negatively affected by distracted driving.
Dr. Richard Zane knows all too well how quickly things can go wrong when you're not paying attention at the wheel.
Well, I was driving my family, my wife, who was at the time 8 months pregnant, and my children in our minivan down Route 9 in Brookline. And we were driving through an intersection, and all of a sudden my wife said, "Oh my God, look out." And a young girl who was clearly on a cell phone at the time went right through a red light. She hit our minivan. We spun around, flipped twice, and we all went to the hospital. Luckily, everybody was wearing their seatbelt and did fine, but had we not been wearing our seatbelts, we'd all be dead.
Kevin Hurley almost died when he was struck by a drunk driver as he crossed the street on campus at Notre Dame, where he had just begun college 2 weeks earlier. He was in a coma for weeks. He lost a leg and suffered a permanent, debilitating brain injury.
Brain injury doesn't discriminate. Nobody plans on a brain injury, trust me. Nobody plans on it. It just is thrust into your life.
Every time we get behind the wheel, we make choices. Am I going to wear my seatbelt today? How fast am I going to drive?
Hello.
Will I be calling or texting my friends, blaring the music or goofing around? The choices we make can either protect us or hurt us. So make the right choices.
You stand a lot to lose. Not just your license, which I know is the first thing you think about. If I get arrested for OUI, I'm going to lose my license. That's not all you lose. You lose friends, you lose family, you lose your hopes and dreams. Anything you might have planned to do in the future, you most likely aren't going to be able to do because of your brain injury.
Focus on the road in front of you. Don't worry about what's going on beside you, behind you, at your tape deck, your cell phone. Put the stuff down, look forward, and pay attention to what's going on around you.
Anything that takes your eyes away from the road for any minute is a potential accident right there.
Drive carefully and always buckle up.
Just please be safe. Don't drink and drive. Don't do drugs and drive. Don't speed. Just don't do any of that stupid stuff.
This is a program of the Brain Injury Association, a private, nonprofit organization whose members are survivors of brain injury, their family members, and the professionals who serve them. Our mission is to support brain injury survivors, help prevent these injuries, educate the public, and advocate for necessary funding and legislation. For more information, please call 508-475-0032 or click www.biama.org.